Welcome to Season 2 of the Generational Dental Wealth Show. Season 2 is all about increasing dental financial IQ. We do record these live in studio at Team Studios, so if you want to see the video format of this show, go ahead to Spotify or YouTube. Also, if you want to join the Generational Dental Wealth community, go ahead to teamfinancials.com/educate. Let's hop into it.
Welcome to the Generational Dental Wealth Podcast. My name is Dr. Jermaine Affetti.
My name is Kingsley Affetti, CPA.
And we are here for part 2 with
Dr. Octavia Miller.
Let's hop right into it.
It's gonna be special. It's gonna be special. So we never like to hop into an episode without having a little bit of fun. So in your opinion, Doctor, what would be the perfect vacation for you? Lay it out. What's going on?
Ooh, a perfect vacation. Quiet, first of all.
Okay.
I talk so much during the week, like I don't want to hear anything. Maybe some sounds of some waves,
Okay.
some
So
beach
beach.
vibes,
Okay.
but a little greenery. So I'm thinking like Costa Rica.
Oh.
Costa Rica, lush, beautiful. You can chill if you want to. There's some things to do, some adventure. And you
Yeah.
just want to lay out, then you just lay out. And that's the perfect weekend.
See,
Wow.
she big time. I'm a doc and I've never been to Costa Rica. See, I got to.
You got to relax.
You gotta relax. I gotta relax. See, Kingsley, you always talk about like, what does your generational dental wealth life look like? Like, what is your rich life? What does it look like? And that's something personally I'm still working on within myself. But that seems like something that you have a lot further than I am when it comes to that particular area there, man. So, Kingsley, about you? What's your favorite vacation? Because you travel.
Favorite one I've been on so far was Hawaii. It was nice. I tell people the scenery in Hawaii is like movie set. You have mountains on one side, you have seas on one side. Man, it's beautiful. It's truly beautiful. And then I went with one of my best friends. So I always love vacations where you get to be with the locals. It ain't nothing like a vacation when you know people that's there, because you don't just do the tourist stuff. So I always know
Rio.
Yeah.
Already. See, you got Hawaii, you got Costa Rica, right? And then you get to me, cruise. I just like to go on a cruise.
Bahamas.
Bahamas, it's the simple stuff for me. I just like not working, like shutting my mind off, relaxing a little bit, knowing that the food is already curated, because my wife, she does a great job of making sure we always eat healthy, we eat good. So then she can chill, she can relax, I can chill, I can relax. Entertainment's already lined up. I don't even like really figuring out all the details. Maybe that's why I like cruises. I really don't know, but I go on a lot of cruises, man. So
No
for sure.
cell service.
Yes, even better. See,
That's even better.
I can't work even if I wanted to. And they say, oh, but you can pay for Wi-Fi. And I'm like,
Nope.
now it's conflicting in me. Should I do work or do I really want to pay for Wi-Fi? It just really all depends. For sure.
Man, so hopping into this episode here, just wanted to kind of pick your mind. I told you even before we started rolling today, I said the main thing that attracted me to you as far as seeing the things that you put out online, your public persona, so many different reels. And I mean, sometimes they're extremely funny. Sometimes they're I'm like, wow, it's very well put together. Just want to kind of pick your mind on, why, you kind of have chosen to kind of have a persona outside the clinical side. As we know, I mean, typically most people punch in, they go in, they punch out, but you've kind of decided to take it another step and say, hey, I want to be able to build this brand of mine, this personal brand of mine, for lack of better words. So I want to kind of pick your mind. Like, why did you kind of choose to do that? And like, what's kind of, I guess, your favorite part of kind of building that brand out?
Yeah, okay, so it all starts from the beginning. Everything goes back to the beginning, where I said I wanted to be a dentist. And I didn't have any dentists to ask my crazy questions to, like what's 2 + 2 or what is college, these kind of things. And I would say there was in my town one dentist, and it was an older white man. And don't get me wrong, very sweet, very nice, very helpful. But again, I wanted to not ask him crazy questions because I didn't want to look stupid. And so I knew, one, you see a problem, create a solution. And even more than that, be a part of the solution. So I knew that there are other students behind me that have that same struggle, where they can't ask those crazy, silly questions to. So I wanted to become that person where, yes, I'm a young Black dentist and I'm relatable. And that transition to when I go to the doctor, I want my doctor to be relatable. Because I don't see my doctors at church or at the grocery store because they live on the other side of town. But if you can see me at church, here at the grocery store, or maybe even at your local bar or lounge, then it's like, doctors are actually cool and not very scary people that we thought they were once before.
Wow.
Growing up, I used to think like the doctors we knew were like just different. Like they're over here and then we're the regular people. But now that we're on this side of it, it's just like, I want to be closer to everybody. I want to be there because for me, myself personally, I didn't meet my first male dentist of color till I was already in dental school, right? Like, again, I always ask, how do you become what you've never seen before?
Exactly.
So for you to make yourself so prevalent, so easily accessible via social media, it makes it possible for so many more people. Like that is just so powerful. So one of the things we always talk about here when generational dental wealth is that generational dental wealth is not just money. It's not just like accumulation of assets, right? It is a ability to be able to share mindsets, to be able to help people reach their own levels of growth. And as we've talked about in the previous episodes, when it comes to mentorship, you want your mentees to become greater. How do you mentor more people? The way you're doing it exactly right now, you're reaching out, you're casting a wide net, and those who resonate with what you're putting out there are going to find you.
Exactly.
And now they can now ask you questions, and they can already start a leg above where everybody else started. So that's really key. That's really, really key.
Yeah, generational wealth for me is legacy.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Even if it's not my direct line, but my legacy in other people, for sure.
So I want everybody to really start thinking about like what are the things that need to happen in your life, and what are the things you need to achieve for you to start feeling like you're leaving behind generational dental wealth, right? And as we said before, generational dental wealth is just generational wealth using dentistry as the avenue into which to achieve it. So
Yeah.
that's really good.
That's good.
All right, so as we segue more into the business side of things, one of my big questions for you is what motivated you to purchase a house while in dental school?
So my motivation actually come from two gap years that I took between undergrad and my master's program, where I actually worked in real estate.
Wow.
So I was a real estate agent for a few years in Greenville, and I saw all these other people buying houses and basically learning how that process works. And it's not as unattainable as we think. We think that we have to have all this bajillion dollars to be able to buy a house, and that's not the truth. I think for the first year or so in dental school, I did rent an apartment. And after a while, I'm just like, I'm giving these people this money and I have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of right at the pandemic-ish time where we're all in the house anyway. And I'm like, I've saved up enough from real estate. You know, I've been a little responsible here and there. I have good credit. So let's just shoot our shot and see what we get.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought a house.
That's good. That's good. The reason I asked that question, because it seems like, you know, it's such a small decision. Let's just buy a house, right? But again, like having two younger brothers after me and knowing that so many other people are going to come after me, I think to myself, like, how do we solve generational problems, right? Like, we know anybody who's going to go to East Carolina or go to UNC or go to any college in particular, they're going to need somewhere to stay, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there are common things that it doesn't matter if 20 years from now or 15 years from now, they're going to have to deal with this same similar challenges, right? So we know if one of our kids end up going to Chapel Hill one day, that's going to be a common issue, right? So we bought in Chapel Hill. We went to dental school in Chapel Hill. And I say this because it's the difference between generational wealth and not is really a few small decisions. It's not cutting back coffee at Starbucks, right? It's knocking out the home runs when they present itself, right? So when you do get that opportunity, it's acquiring that piece of property or putting yourself into that great first position of an associateship if you can, because believe it or not, now you have now solved certain things that for now, no one's ever going to have to deal with the issue of where am I going to stay if I get into Chapel Hill, right? Mm-hmm. And then during the meantime, guess what? It can now generate enough income that it can now buy you a vacation a week, or you can now save it and put it into another property. Or let's say you wake up tomorrow and say, I want to practice, I can liquidate, and now I can now have a down payment for a practice. It gives you so much versatility. And I'm just a firm believer that anytime you generate an income or you're in a period of time, you want to look back at that period of time and be able to have something to point back to. This is my success clue that I had from my time in dental school. I can look back and forever see that condo and say, this is what I did with my 4 years while I was in dental school from a real estate perspective, right? Now that we're out of school, it's time to start building new success clues on what does this look like after school. So now that you're outside of school, right, and now you're out of Greenville, what are some success clues that you're leaving behind now?
Oh, So I'm still fresh out of school, right? And so I'm still figuring out everything, all the moving pieces to put it together. But I'm still sticking to my core on I'm not here for forever, and where's the next step? What's the next level that I'm trying to get to? Yeah. So my little steps or my little clues now is just kind of coming with my 3 to 5 year plan. I'm here now, and I know I want to be in ownership at some point. How does that look? I want to be someone's wife, someone's mom, and how does that look as well? Which is a lot different. You're like almost making a plan for things that don't even exist. But if you don't make a plan, then you're not going to be ready regardless. So even if those things don't happen, it's not going to deter me or it's not going to backtrack me because at least I did plan for it.
That's good. I guess that kind of brings me to, another thought here. What kind of influenced your decision to be a part of the DSO life versus maybe private practice and many other avenues that you could have done? What would you say what was the biggest influence and kind of why you made that decision?
Yeah, so I chose my DSO because it was currently or previously on the West Coast, and they had just started moving into North Carolina. So at the time that I signed, there was only one office here and another one opening. And so for me, being the kind of forward-thinking person that I am, that's a great opportunity for growth. That means that there's going to be more offices in the next 5 years that I get to have a piece of growing or developing. And so if I want to own that route, I have an opportunity to own more faster versus somewhere that's already developed. If I don't choose to go that route, then I'm still using that because I didn't do, an extra year or a specialty. I can use that as a gateway to also get those CE credits, get those extra classes, the investment that they invest in people to learn more faster.
Yeah. It's so funny as you say that. I think you kind of hit on one of the biggest challenges I personally had coming out of school, where you're surrounded by maybe, people in your profession that you can lean on, ask questions. Opposed for me, when I started, the firm, I didn't know many CPAs to ask these questions to. So you'd be surprised about, how difficult sometimes like that private practice ownership can be, especially the first few years if you didn't have a good foundation. So to kind of combat, because obviously, the accounting field is much different than the dental field, but I never had a kind of corporate structure to necessarily, other CPAs. So I had to do what you said, do a lot of CE, a lot of traveling to go to these different conferences. So I don't know. I think what you hit on right there was so important because many people have the misconception that right after school I have to own a practice or right after school. But it's like you might skip out on a little bit of learning, or you might be able to do the same things much quicker, because you had that experience first. Instead of taking 3 years and making these mistakes, you only take 3 months because you've seen it before. So I think what you hit on there was really important.
That's really good. For sure. I mean, right now I'm mentally always thinking about what's the landscape of dentistry looking like, and it's changing and it's evolving. And if you don't change with the times, then you will be left behind. Right? Blockbuster thought that they're going to stand pat, and there's a lot of kids who are born today who will never know what Blockbuster is. Right? So when it comes to dentistry, one thing that I'm noticing amongst looking at different ways of practicing dentistry and different practice ownership styles is that I'm truly seeing that we're on the antithesis of a very big boom within partnerships within practice ownership. But it's become a little bit too restrictive at times, just being the only person in the office and having to be the everything to everybody, right? So as this partnership route is growing, one of the areas that I'm personally focused on trying to figure out what does this look like on a private practice side of things, because in reality, sometimes the decision that we make is not necessarily the best decision. It was just the decision that was most readily available, right? So the goal is for us to be able to share all the different perspectives so people can self-identify and say, these are the different things that work within DSO. These are the different things that work within a partnership. These are different things that work within a solo practice ownership. So now people can now put themselves in their right category to put themselves in the best shoes, because everything that applies to me is not going to apply to you. Exactly. Everything that applies to the next doc isn't going to apply to me. So even though we have mentors who give us great information, we have to realize that not everything applies to everybody. And as we move into these next steps within practice ownership, I'm going to be very excited to see the kind of waves you're going to be able to create and to be able to share with the world. So as the next generation of dentists are coming up, they can see, is this a viable option for me in the future? For sure.
For sure. And that's a good point as well. It's just kind of what works for you doesn't work for me. I knew that I've been in school for 13 plus years and I wanted to be able to enjoy myself this 1 or 2 years. So if I want to take off, there's someone to cover me, you know,
sure.
Kind of like you said in the private practice setting, like you are kind of it for everyone. I know that I don't want to go home and do paperwork for 40 hours a week as well as work on top of that. So that was kind of also influencing my decision on why I wanted to at least start at DSO and then see how it goes from there.
That's good.
So just a quick question, quick thought. Do you think, because I know you said in the master's undergrad, I forget now, you had sort of that business, teaching and business background. Do you think that influenced your decision to get into a DSO now that I guess you didn't just have just a clinical background, you had a little bit of perspective. Okay, this is how businesses ran, this is how practices ran. Kind of give you a take on that. Did that influence your decision at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of went in knowing that it's hard work.
Yeah.
Running it. So you guys are fortunate that you have each other.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
have an empire kind of behind me and supporting me in that way. Not yet, right?
You with us.
Just,
You part of
I'll join the
Empire.
team
You with us.
eventually, right?
Yeah.
But again, kind of like you said, that my business administration piece absolutely helped. Even with like marketing, like you kind of like went into before, marketing myself. I learned that there's certain colors that invoke people. There's certain things, there's certain fonts, those kind of things. And people don't think that far into it sometimes, but it's absolutely like a branding, marketing, everything else from there. Like it starts from a foundation.
Awesome.
I think sometimes people when they hear business, oh, this person studied business, that we have like a secret recipe to figure everything out. Like understanding of business just means you understand that you have your own limitations, right? And that you got to put yourself in a position to win. Again, like I always ask people, like, when was the last time somebody suggested to you McDonald's? When was the last time somebody suggested to you Coca-Cola, right? There's a reason these people market very heavily. It's because people are not actually seeking these different things out. And just understanding just small concepts within marketing, within business is what we get in business school. I promise you, like there's no secret code that we get. But by her being able to self-identify and figure out what are my strengths and what are some of the things that I don't want to negotiate on early, has allowed her to put herself in a good position heading into the future.
Yeah, that's really big. And like knowing your strengths, absolutely. And I know that I'm a pretty mediocre student. Like I do well, but I'm not definitely all A's kind of like person. But I know my strengths are in service, community service. Those things that I love, that's stuff I'm passionate about. So when I can see someone, I was like, you might be smarter than me, but you're not going to outdo me in service because that's my thing. And there was one time in dental school, speaking of marketing and branding, where someone was missing a like pink pin or something or another. And I didn't even intentionally market myself as the pink girl, but as soon as someone saw a pink pin was like out of place, they was like, hey, here's your pin.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, actually, that's not mine. But because they knew all of my things are pink, my totes, my colors, my jackets, all this other stuff, it was automatically pink stuff equals Octavia. And that's what you want people to kind of know you as, like hard work equals Octavia, or social media equals Octavia, or this and that. Definitely when I think of y'all, excellence equals y'all. But again,
Thank God.
the way you put those things out into the world, like it automatically aligns with what you have going on.
That was one of the things that stuck out to me about you early on. This was maybe 2020, 2019. And that's when we were first starting coaching. That was when we were first moving into that realm of trying to help more people. And you were one of the first ones to really just like connect and was like, you know what, like I'm trying to figure out who can help me and who we can partner with to do bigger and better things. And that just stuck out to me because it's just like, you were always ahead of the curve. I don't know what it is, but you always find yourself ahead of the curve when it comes to it. And to me personally, I have a very good thing about me. When I see people who are ahead of the curve, I want to be with those people. I don't know what it is. It's just, and it's just, it feels good being with people because when you're expressing certain pain points, when you're talking about certain things, there's a certain level of understanding that goes along with it. So just for me personally, that pops into my head today because I just think about when you saying that, you're a part of Empire now, It's just, I think to myself that, welcome. I just think to myself, like, you were here before the dental group even started, right?
Yeah,
like
for
we were
sure.
already having these conversations. You and I jointly had multiple different engagement opportunities with students virtually, even throughout the COVID time. So just understand, like, and me personally, I'm very big on this. The celebrities in your life are not necessarily people you see on TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are people who are just right next to you. And yes, we can reach out to celebrities and say, hey, we want you on Generational Dental Wealth, right? Or we can reach out to the people who are local, who I personally consider celebrity, right? Dr. O's a celebrity to me. The things she does for her local community, the things that she has done for East Carolina, the things that she's doing now, the things she does on social media to help more students, that to me resembles the quality that is deserving of a title of a celebrity. So to me, you are a dental celebrity. And I would just say, keep up the things that you are doing. And for everybody at home, find those people who are local celebrities to you and really start giving them the flowers early. Let's not wait until either somebody blows up or somebody goes out. Let's figure out ways to start highlighting those levels of achievement now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I love too. I do not consider myself a celebrity at all.
I do.
But in my celebrity-ness, like, again, being in some positions where I can say, oh, we need a speaker, let's call a doc. And so I've been able to put people on into these positions to also make them celebrities, if you will, in their own rights. But again, it's people that also are showing up and also doing the work. I can't just be like, hey, Brad, we need you to speak over here. And I've never heard this man speak before.
Yeah.
Like, that's outrageous. So I'm glad that we, as a unit can put each other on.
All right, so I'm glad we got to touch on that. And I'll be remiss not to touch on the subject of just being a woman in dentistry and being a minority woman in dentistry. So I want to ask you this, like, what are some of the challenges that you personally face that would not necessarily be easy for me to identify with, so I can now open my eyes to a certain blind spot when it comes to that?
Oh, first things first, no one has probably ever said to you, you sure you're strong enough to pull my tooth out? And I say, well, I ain't lost nobody yet. So it's still a male-dominated world, even though there are still more and more women coming into the field. Honestly, it's lit sometimes. I think sometimes I'm able to relate to my patients a lot more, to kind of give them a softer side when they're in a hard place. But again, at the same time, where they're still questionable, I can say, you need a root canal in the crown, and they'll be like, are you sure? Whatever. And I'm trying to be nice about it. And then like my senior doc, who's a male, would say, yep, you need a root canal and crown. They're like, okay. So it's just like, it's a thing where people, or in general, don't think women know what they're talking about, when all my life I've had to been 10 times smarter, 10 times harder working, to know what's going on. And so sometimes it bothers me, but not anymore. Sometimes I'll meet someone out in public and I'd say, hey, I'm Dr. Octavia, this is my office. And then they're like, oh, so you're like the assistant? And I'm like, I just said I'm Dr. Octavia.
Yeah.
But I let it pass, and I just politely correct them, even though it's very, very frustrating sometimes. I've spent all these years, trying to become a doctor, and definitely put men to the side where I was too busy studying or too busy, trying to get myself together to deal with a man and all their craziness. And so now it's like, where are all the good men at? That's a whole nother thing.
I'm going to find them all, and I'm going to just bring them to a general location.
Okay, just line them up, okay?
Line them up.
with the resumes, please.
There you go, and you just pick from there. We'll go that way with it.
Oh, goodness.
So your ability to connect from that perspective is so key to me. So let me ask you this, like, what are some of like the boundaries, the soft and hard boundaries that you have to really set being a woman in dentistry that some of us just don't really identify or see?
Oh, it's hard. Some things, like, you have to be stern for sure. I mean, it's a business, so you can't be everyone's like homegirl all the time, which is hard, because you can reprimand someone and then she's a B word, and you're like, no, I just told you can't be late every day, but now I'm a B word. That's a super kind of hard balance to find sometimes, especially working with people.
Yeah.
I have high expectations, and so I expect that of other people. And no matter how nice I say it, you know, it's always going to be misconstrued some way, somehow. I'm still working on that balance on like how to sternly say things, but also not be pushed over or ran over. But
That's really good.
Yeah.
taking all the hints and tips and tricks on that one.
I love that. I love that. So as we wrap this up, I just want to make sure we open the mic up to you. Anything you want to talk to, anybody you want to talk to out there? I know you have a lot of followers out there who would love to hear a special message from you. What kind of advice could you give them to help them along their journey?
My advice will always be my same advice. Don't be lazy. Do it right the first time.
Yeah.
And no matter what anybody says, keep going. Simple as that.
Simple. That's good.
Simple.
Straight to the point.
We want to thank you for joining us on the Generational Dental Wealth podcast. This is a fun one.
Fun. And our first guest. So I appreciate you being a part of the what do you call it? The pilot. Being a part of the pilot almost, you know. So
She's
thank
a
you
part
for
of the Dental Wealth crew now.
Yeah. The first one.
Dental Wealth crew alumni now.
Yeah, thank y'all so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
We got to get a Letterman. You know the Letterman?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate everybody for joining us on the Generational Dental Wealth podcast. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
See ya.
If you love today's show, you can go ahead and give Dr. Octavia a follow on Instagram at Dr. Octavia. That's Dr. OCTAVIA. Or you can go ahead and give her a follow on LinkedIn at Octavia Miller.